Relax and get loose while I put you up on game. The Figure Booth with Josh and Nate. This that podcast for those in the know. Batman vs Iron Man. How would it go? We talking one of a kind. Collectibles. Mezco toys are respectable. It's unacceptable if it's not in the packaging. Nate don't take pics if you ain't rapping it. Nate's dirty tricks are always happening. But damn it, man, don't you be stressing. Round here we believe in plastic confessions. We trying to figure out the figures that's gonna stand the test of time. That G.I. Joe hand made hit me in the spine. There's perfection in the way that these toys are made. But I also wanna know, do I pick Wade or Slade? So this is where I come to kick it with the guys. The Figure Booth. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back, Toy Fam. You have made it to another episode of the Figure Booth podcast, where we talk and take a dive into all topics related to action figures, and we even do interviews with those that are involved in the toy committee, such as today.
Yeah, we got a special one today, and on top of it, it's episode 50.
That's kind of a milestone. It's kind of a big thing. So we had to have like a big deal type of person. We had to bring in somebody who was kind of a big deal. Those are my thoughts.
Right. Yeah. If you're going to go episode 50, you got to go big. This guy's well known in the community, and he's probably a little bit more polished maybe than us. I would call him smooth as butter. Maybe that's what I would mention.
I wonder who could we be talking
about. Who could that guy be, though? I mean, I feel like half our listeners already know who this is.
Yeah.
But why don't we just go ahead and tell them, Prime?
Let's bring him on board. You guys know the Butter Baron, the Lord of the North, aka Toying Around. We got Kevin. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, fellas?
Welcome to the Figure Booth.
Thank you for having me. Congrats on 50, man. It is definitely a milestone for to both of you.
We're halfway there. I think at 100 we quit. That's it. We hang up the headphones and then we walk away.
I mean,
that's not a bad idea.
Kevin would already be there if that was the case.
Yeah, but he's hungry for more. That's why he's the Butter Baron.
Well, and I made a weird choice at one point when we started doing live streams to number those differently. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do live stream episode 1.
Yeah.
And then we had podcast episode 50. So we actually have like 27 live streams and then 50 episodes. We're like at 77. But I've already committed to the weird numbering on 2 different parts. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go forward with that. We're keeping it as it is.
That should be easy to follow for those either watching or listening to us. And don't lose count, because eventually we're going to come out with an advent calendar. You guys got to keep track of how many lives, and then we'll do like a trivia quiz and we'll do giveaways. That'll be so random. And it'll all make sense. It'll be full circle.
The beauty of doing your own thing, man. Number it how you want, Nate.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Don't let them tell you how to count.
Thank you for that. No, it's really awesome to have you on, Kevin. We are big fans of what you do. Obviously, Prime is a fellow enabler, so he's a part of kind of what you do. But you've been doing it for quite a long time. So I think, people that might be just discovering you, or even people that discover you from your first Unboxing Thursdays, they might not know maybe all of your history. So we wanted to kind of do a deep dive into who Kevin is, kind of how you got started. For anybody that doesn't know who you are, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your channel's all about?
Damn, that's very deep. I'm used to like 5-hour streams, so I guess I got to keep it brief. I collect toys. I go by Toying Around on all my socials, and I started collecting toys and then getting into toy photography, ACBA, and through Facebook, I met a lot of really great collectors and posers, photographers, and then started collecting maybe like a good 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had toys growing up. Stopped, people go through that phase, university, high school. This isn't the cool thing to do, chasing girls, blow all your money on alcohol. But then when the pandemic started, I had a buildup of toys, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hop on IG Live and do some unboxings, and whoever wants to show up and chat, we'll just chat and we'll just kick it. And then it started becoming a thing every week. And then I thought, hey, I can talk to people on here. And then through these relationships from people that I've met on Facebook throughout the years, that's how I kind of knew so many people in the game. You know, a lot of the older photographers, and then of course there's so many new people every day. I'm just very lucky to be able to connect with them also, and then just keep it moving. So, you know, I do unboxing Thursdays every week. When there's new toys coming out or the new shows coming out that has to do with toys, things that I'm interested in collecting, I do some live streams there. We break down some shows. We do a podcast, the Boba Squadron, with Yoko, who's been on here, Paul, who is a fantastic dude and a great actor, and the Fallen Fett from the Toy Migos. I mean, I think that's
All
good.
in a nutshell.
Speaks for itself. Yeah.
And go ahead, Nate.
I was going to say, you know, one thing I noticed about Kevin is that you're kind of like constantly evolving sort of the things that you're maybe interested in, and also sort of what you want to do with your channel. Like, I did some deep dive into your history, and
Oh boy.
like it's you start talking about how you got into toys and how you got into the toy community. I had like a similar approach where I was collecting toys, but I didn't really know sort of where to go with it. Like, hey, this is my thing. I don't know a whole lot of people that do this that live local to me. So let me go on Instagram and try to find people. And then from that, I found this toy community. And then I started finding toy photographers. And then you start finding toy reviewers and then customizers. There's so many layers to the community, and you can kind of rediscover yourself as you're going throughout. Like, oh, I didn't think I was interested in this. Now I am, you know, and you're like one of those channels that I feel like is great at sort of representing all these different facets of the community, because you've got tons of different people on as guests. And you not only look at toy photographers, but you look at people in the industry and, you know, some of the other guests that you've had on. You're just very diverse that way. So I think it's really cool that you kind of help foster those relationships that I think a lot of us are trying to discover. And you've seen throughout COVID, you know, these live streams, and just it gets more and more active over the last couple of years. But I think it's cool that you kind of share a similar story as what I have. So like when you were growing up, or you went through that cool phase, when you started getting back into it, is it something that you sort of kept to yourself, or were you looking at Instagram to try to find more people? Because for me, it was like a dirty little secret. It's like, I don't want to tell people I'm doing this, or that I post photos of toys. And then I got more comfortable. I'm like, this is a lot more widely accepted than I thought it would be. So let me just be myself. And I've had more fun with that. So did you have kind of a similar background, or do you feel more comfortable off the bat?
I think I know my wife. My wife tells me all the time. She's like, "Oh, I feel like I've been cheated. I didn't know you're such a big dork," because at the time when I got back into it, you know, we weren't married yet, and we stumbled upon a toy show, and then I bought some figures, bought a Detolf, then one Detolf turned into 4 Detolfs, and then it just excuse me, you're gonna have to edit that, and then it just kind of exploded. So, and then it's like you have your own personal IG, and then you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna post stuff over there. So created the persona, or this new account, touring around. I was sitting in the washroom one day. I'm like, hey, I wonder if that name's available, because if it is, I think that's a great name to start. And sure enough, it was, and that's how it all started. Origin story right here. So, and then it eventually came to a point where like I'm more into the toy community stuff every day than my personal socials. So it's gone from like not so much a dirty secret, like I said, because my wife, she's like, yeah, you lied to me. I thought you were cool.
She's like, the deception.
The truth came out before we got married, so
yeah,
it was all on the table.
She was educated enough, right? No, it's cool. You feel like it's been something that's made you, I mean, I'm sure it has, it's made you more comfortable talking about it. And for me, shows like what you have and other live streams that you have, it makes me discover more and more people that are in the community, or things that, you know, I didn't think I was interested in ahead of time. But now that I've seen people talk about it and I hear the passion behind it, it's like, wow, that's something that I want to become more interested in. So I know that as far as like dio creating and props, were you doing that while you were kind of getting back into collecting, or is that something you sort of discovered through the community?
Through the community, I started taking photos with really terrible backdrops and bad lighting, and I'm like, I started off like most people, the basic brick wall side of a building. Um, I've only made like a couple foam diodes, and then at a local library that I went to, I hadn't been to a public library in like 20 years, but I go in, they had a 3D printer there. So like the whole thing was changed. They had a 3D printer you can test out. They had video cameras, DSLRs, mirrorless that you can rent, and like people in the community can sign them out. They had like
Wow.
Xbox games and stuff. So I'm like, whoa, how long have I not been in here? But I got it. That's how I got into 3D printing. I'm like, this is great. I can start making props
Yeah.
and printing my own stuff. So I kind of learned from there. Most of my stuff is self-taught / just researching on the internet. So photography, video work, live streaming, 3D printing, all that stuff. It's just there are a lot of very talented people in our community, which is why I'm able to talk to guests all the time that do very different things, but also do them very well. And there's a lot of people who do it. And B, it's through that I can learn and do all these and try to do all these different things. Prime's wearing the Sentinel shirt. I was doing apparel and trying, like you said, always trying to evolve. And I don't know if it's just my personality where I'm just like, oh, I want to try this. I want to do this, or it's just trying to find the thing that I enjoy doing, that I don't want to say I'm good at, but I'm comfortable putting my time into. Like I did toy reviews before. That everyone wanted to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then now sometimes it's like, the whole editing process is a lot of work, and a lot of people already do it. I'm not in it for the rat race of like, I got to get this figure first.
Yeah.
Because if you're not the first one really dropping the first review on it, I don't want to say do it just for the likes, but you're just doing it for those few people who want your opinion on it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not worth it. It's just there are some other cool things that I want to do with that time.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like it's become much more competitive with toy reviewers. Like there's a lot of names out there that you just think of when you're thinking of toy reviews. So, but when you look back at your YouTube, you were doing that like way back in 2018. You had started doing that like 4 years ago. So you're still kind of in that prime time. Was there one like toy reviewer in general that got you inspired, or did you just say, hey, I'm going to take a shot at this and just see how it goes and go from there? Because you did quite a few reviews before you started transitioning into other things.
Yeah, I've always watched like The Amazing, and back then I didn't know like toy reviewers by name, so it was whatever came up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Whatever it suggested from the search, that's what I would watch. But I know like Darius's poses and stuff always stood out to me. The reason I started doing it was because I came back from Niagara Falls, New York, to pick up my toys that I ordered there, like Mezco's probably, right, to my mailbox. Came back, I found the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave on my way home.
Nice.
At Toys R Us, and I don't think anyone had it yet. And someone said, "Hey, you should do a review." Yeah. Nobody has it, and I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'm gonna give it a shot." So I downloaded Windows Movie Maker, which is like a 43 meg exe file that you can just save the exe on a USB, and you'll run it anywhere. Like you don't have all this background stuff. So it was a very basic like trim, split, cut. And I messed with that for 30 minutes and using kind of like techniques that I watch for photographers and people who do videos of like in-camera transitions and things like that. I tried to bring that kind of style from what I knew into making these videos. So it was very bare bones, and like if you watch, you went to 2018, Nate. If you spent some time watching those, you would have closed it so fast.
He kept sending me the links. I was like, Nate, knock it off. I've seen these.
You're like, who is this amateur?
Well, I get a general, especially when we're going to have interview, I really like to kind of figure out, okay, where did they start? Where are they at now? Because you can see a natural evolution with a lot of people. And, I watched your first review with the Apocalypse Storm. and then
Right.
you did the Psylocke and Gladiator and Wolverine. And one thing I appreciate about those is they were pretty short, so it didn't seem like a big time investment, which is sometimes when it comes to reviews, I don't want like a 30-minute review, or even 15 minutes is sometimes stretching it a bit. Like I get it, like okay, some figures need a bit more time, but I liked how yours were around that 5-8 minute mark. They were pretty short, and you're doing enough. At least, I think for me as a toy collector, I'm like, okay, I get to see it next to other figures. I get to see how it moves. That's kind of what I care about. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that you at least started with that, and I think you learn a lot, like you said, from just editing in general and how kind of the whole process works, because it's easy for somebody to maybe start an Instagram live and then save it and just post that,
Right.
But it's a whole nother process when you're trying to create something that has transitions and you're trying to do different cuts and different things, and it makes the process way more complicated, and you start learning a little bit more about that side of the business, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A 5 to 7 minute video could have been like 20 something minutes of footage and maybe an hour and a half of recording that people don't see, especially if you're not doing it consistently. You might be rusty, and you're like, oh shoot, I forgot this is how I have my lighting, this is how it works, or I should have this angle or my equipment this way. So people, like, if you watch Dan who's dropping like, I don't know, just crap ton of reviews week after week, it's like, he has a system for it, and there has to be a process that's you're able to get these videos out. So it comes down to refining that process too, if you're not doing it all the time. So, like any other skill that you would have. You stay sharp.
Right. So it makes sense. I mean, you give yourself a hard time, but it makes sense that your first few reviews might not be the most polished thing out there, but you're still kind of learning the ropes and sort of what that really means and kind of what you want to talk about. I think that's another thing. It's easy to start recording, but you want to make sure you're adding value somehow. Like, I want to say something that maybe somebody else hasn't said, or what can I focus on that people might be interested in? So I'm not just talking about this figure that, something that somebody might already know. I got to think of something specific to focus on.
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that's always the very small part of it, at the very least, is to entertain. Like, if someone's watching it, they'd be like, oh, that was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because even in the beginning, I try to do stuff. If I was reviewing a Daredevil, I had the lights go out, and then I turn it back on, and like he was surrounded by ninjas, and then I'd get into the review. Just things like that were just, it wasn't just straight talking about the figure, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but putting a twist on it, making it entertaining and worth your time, and hopefully to come back and watch future stuff, right?
Right. Exactly.
And have you always, like, kind of, I don't know, had this vision? Because I think from an outsider standpoint, looking at the progression that you've had in your channel, it's easy to say, like, man, Kev's like, he's having a successful run. And I think for an individual that's going through that process, you're just like in the grind. But what do you foresee for the channel? Or did you already have that plan? Like, hey, eventually I want to make it diverse. Or do you just...
Prime, you should know me. There's no plan here. This is all like, as I'm going, what catches my interest, and then I might. The problem is I'm always thinking of ideas. Like, from when I wake up, I'd be like, hey, this, what would be cool? This, and then, like, sometimes it's kind of a bad habit. My wife will be talking to me about something, and I give it a appropriate amount of pause time, and then I'd be like, so I had this idea about. You gotta get that pause in there to show, like, you weren't thinking about something else the whole time. But it's just, whatever I see might be an opportunity, I'll test it out. There's stuff I've done that I feel like hasn't caught on.
No, and I mean, that was almost with intent, because I think when we met up at DCon, I was like, this guy's on another level. Like, it reminds me of that Jay-Z quote where he's like, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. Because that's what I take from, like, you were always like, oh, we should shoot this, or he would say, oh, that was really fun, let's do it again, but let's get the camera. Now I think for the collectors, like, a lot of the audience that they check in and tune in every week. And I think for the younger collectors, that ones that want to aspire to be like, hey, I want to be the next, big reviewer, or I want to be the guy that does the unboxing with Toys R Us or Star Wars, they don't really take into consideration the mindset. And I think that's the challenging part of like always having to have that mindset ready to go and thinking about the audience, thinking about is it entertaining, or am I just talking about an action figure? I think there's much more to that. You have to bring substance and content by keeping the audience. And I think that's what after Decon, I was like, man, Kevin's always thinking about the audience. Like, this guy is not selfish. He's selfless. Like, he's always like, to me, that was like, man, this guy. Okay, this guy's a cool cat. I'm gonna have to keep him in my circle.
Whoa, that's why I'm on. Okay,
that's why you're on.
That's cool. No, I get it, and I say that all the time. If I invite, I selfishly have guests on Unboxing Thursday so I can just learn from them.
Yeah, that's smart.
Like everyone, there's photographers, people customizing, making toys, just pure ACBA stuff versus people who are like in the industry doing it for work, all of that stuff. And there's always some common ground, obviously, with toys, but there's an aspect of it where I want to get into it more for myself, but also be able to converse with this person that gives the information and makes it something entertaining and of value for the audience, except for Enablers Day, which is just us talking BS,
mindless banter. But, looking at the evolution of the channel, like I think going back to Nate's point is like you start out, your first couple of videos were a review, and I think a lot of us in this community, they're like, oh, I can't be a reviewer because there's so many reviewers out there. I'm just gonna sit on the sideline. But you gotta hit record. You gotta go out there and just start doing it, because ultimately you'll find like I think looking at it as instead of scarcity, there's abundance out there, and there's a spot for everybody. I think your channel, and I just the other day I was catching one of your many shows where you were talking about how even the haters and the trolls, which we've addressed, and someone was saying that there wasn't enough diversity on your channel, which when I heard you say that, I'm like, that's crazy, because if there's any channel that I think about when it comes to diversity is your channel, because you're always doing something and you always have like a different guest, and I'm like, this guy is like the small world of the toy community. I just go in there and I'm going to see something different, or going to be exposed to something I didn't know, whether it's action figure or comic book or someone in our industry, and it's entertaining again. So I don't know, to me, I feel like that's the type of mindset that is very crucial to have in this community, because it pushes that channel forward. You're always looking at what else can I do with your latest Toys R Us stuff. Like, tell us a little bit how that came about, that idea.
Oh man, it's just like you said, you have to really hit record, right? If you don't put yourself out there to do this stuff, nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. And it depends on how you do. If people start watching, then other people are watching, and by that, like people who are on the toy side. Mm-hmm. And then so I've been very fortunate to, for whatever reason, caught the eye of people in the industry, and I've been very, very fortunate with some of the opportunities I've got. And then and I think the key was, after making these contacts and talking to these people, the reason I'm always thinking of stuff, because now I have an idea ready. Now I know this person. Hey, I have an idea, right? Like I'm gonna open a Loom Cube on the next episode. I won it from a Loom Cube giveaway that people are always doing on IG. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, I have the marketing person mailing me, for my details to win the Loom Cube. I'm like, yo, I do the show. I'm doing another in-store show. I need lighting.
Yeah.
So my mind is like, hey, can we work on something? Even if there's no opportunity now, maybe something down the line.
Right.
Keep me in your mind, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm doing unboxings. I have all this stuff, like you said, a bunch of different content. Doing Toys R Us now, so it's just being ready and having the idea. And this stuff didn't just fall in my lap. Like, I was the door was opened, and I'm like, yo, I'm coming in. Like, I have this idea. So I was shopping with my friend Jason. We were meeting at a Toys R Us to trade some toys, and we walked through. We were just talking, two friends, two collectors, and it was just the chatter, the conversation was perfect. I'm like, this is kind of cool,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I think I know some people that know some people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I made a PowerPoint. I
Nice.
got a meeting. I made a PowerPoint, and again, like 20 years later, I haven't done a PowerPoint since like high school. You can do PowerPoint in Microsoft Teams now, and it's all
Oh, wow.
integrated,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
all the controls are messed up. Yeah. So I was completely lost, but I did this thing, and fortunately, they loved it, and now I get to make a whole different style of content that that I'm hoping is unique enough and enjoyable enough for people.
Yeah, I
That.
think
Go ahead, Nate.
I was just going to say, you know, I personally really like the new show, and it's
Thanks,
called
man.
Hunting Around for anybody
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah.
If you
Hunting
haven't
Around.
seen it,
Definitely check it out.
Kevin's already posted the first episode on his YouTube, which you guys should go subscribe to if you're not already. Toying Around on YouTube. But going back to the new idea, I thought it was very creative. And to be honest, when I first heard about it, I'm like, you know, do I want to watch two guys hunting for toys in a store?
Yeah.
But as you start to watch it and the conversation that you guys have,
Yeah.
you're like, man, this is all the same stuff that I think about
Yeah.
when I'm searching for toys.
Yeah.
Or these are all the same conversations that I have
Yep.
when I'm hunting with friends.
Yeah.
So that in itself makes it so enjoyable to watch because I'm like, I can relate to this
Yeah.
so much.
Huge.
Whereas if it's a podcast about toy photography or dial making, even though those are extremely interesting, I don't have maybe the personal connection to it where I could feel like I could relate to it.
Yeah.
You know, and the hunting around just felt so natural.
Yeah.
And just, I really enjoyed it, man. I'm not even trying to blow smoke up.
No, yeah.
Because you're a guest, but I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was something I had on my TV while I'm working.
Yeah.
And, you know, I keep looking over as I'm working and I'm getting distracted. I'm like, I want to see where this goes. I want to see what these guys talk about. This is funny. This is great.
The back and forth was awesome. Like that, I was a huge fan of just the banter where I was like, yes, that's again, just like Nate said, that's exactly a lot of the conversations that you have with your fellow hunter going around. Even though it did bring a tear to my face because I was like, there's no Toys R Us in the States. I'm never. It was very nostalgic for me. I was like, damn, that's what I miss. Walking up and down the aisles and just picking out stuff and seeing Jason on his knees in front of the Super 7 reaction. That was awesome. I think I've found myself in that same position where I found a whole wave where and I was like, yes, it's here. And I'm down on my knees and you know, an employee's looking at me like, dude, what are you doing? I have some more hidden back.
It's mine.
I'm like, it's mine.
I got you first.
Yeah.
Or he's got them all laid out in front of him and he's like, oh, which one do I get? Like, that's me all the time.
All the
which
time.
one do I get?
Yeah, it's different hunting by yourself and then having a friend with you, because when you hunt by yourself, what do you do afterwards? You go message your boys. Yo, guess what I saw today? I was doing this, and then this happened, and then it's like now you get to see it. And Prime, you're always the example that I use, that because it really stuck with me when you told me. You're like, my daughter is so young; she's never seen a Toys R Us.
Yep.
And to me, every time I walk in, and I'm like, damn, this experience is unique. There's nothing else like it. And you know, it sounds like I'm the mascot, but I'm not. Like, it's just I've grown up with Toys R Us. So the whole experience is unique, and I really don't think you appreciate it until it's gone.
And it's crazy because it's on a Target, and like, you know, we have our regular, but we never used to go. At least for me, I never thought about going to Walgreens or even Walmart. Target. It was always Toys R Us. Like Toys R Us was the shrine where if I did good at school, if I won the game, like my dad and my brothers, they were like, hey, we're gonna take you to Toys R Us. Toys R Us was not only the anthem, but it's like you see that building, you're like, yes, there's Jeffrey, he's my buddy. Like you walk in and it's nothing but toys from wall to wall. That I freaking loved that as a kid. So once it got taken away, I mean, all of us that don't have a Toys R Us in our area, we saw the posts where people were posting long messages about and a bunch of tears, like a bunch of tear emojis, and everyone put out their heartfelt, like, oh, saying bye. And it was just a brick and mortar place, but I think it was the sentimental value, that all the memories, like, and all these stories. I remember, you know, a bunch of my buddies were like, man, this is where my dad took me, and like, you know, their dad's not here anymore, or their brother, and you know, whatever memories we shared. But to me, it was like, man, that was it. So when I see my kids, my second oldest, my son, he's like, I kind of remember Toys R Us. He's like, there's a store with toys, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what was it called? And I'm like, oh my god, to me that's. And my daughter has no idea. She's like, what? I want to
Yeah.
go. I don't, and all she knows is Target and Walmart, and sometimes Walgreens when Dad has to go and check for exclusives. But
That's what's always stuck with me.
That's
That's always
crazy.
the example
Yeah.
that I use. If they don't know you, I go, my friend's daughter's never seen. Like I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
And that's part of the inspiration that I want to bring that to
Yeah.
the viewer, whether it's for nostalgia's sake or you've never seen it, or you
Yep.
just there's nothing better than seeing a wall full of toys.
Yep.
Like,
I showed my son. And he was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that place. And my daughter was like, where's that at? Is that in Disneyland? And I'm like,
can
no,
we go, Papa?
That's it. That's in Canada Land.
Well, it's sad how rare those experiences I think are for a younger generation now.
Mhm.
You know, for you guys that have kids, when we were growing up, that was just the norm. You know,
Yeah.
you would, if you wanted a new toy, you'd go hunt for it in a Toys R Us.
Yeah.
That was usually my first place to go, like begging my parents, can I please go to Toys R Us?
Yeah.
Okay, you can pick out one thing. And then it would take me like an hour just to pick out that one
was
thing.
the best part. You could
But-
always find something.
Yeah, kids nowadays, I think, unfortunately, just they don't get to experience that. And I think action figures in general are more of an adult collecting.
Yeah.
You know, especially the action figures that we kind of talk about.
Yeah.
It's more made for guys that are our age that are sort of used to sort of that experience as a kid, and we've kind of grown up with it our whole lives.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting rid of Toys R Us was one of those nails in the coffin for me. Like, man, it's like what I used to know as a kid is now gone here.
Oh my god, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, it's
Get out the tissues, people. This is the point where you get your tissues out and you start we'll pour one out for Toys R Us. Pour one
I
out
mean,
for Jeffrey in the States.
you can go to a Target, yes. You can go to a
Yeah.
Walmart, yes.
Mhm.
But there's no stores like that are as big as Toys R Us was that
Yeah.
is just devoted to the toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't have that. So it's like a chapter of my life is like gone now because Toys R Us is no
Oh.
longer existing here. So it's kind of like I'm living through the nostalgia through you. That's another reason why I think I really liked it. Not only
Yeah.
because you guys are hunting toys, but you're in a Toys R Us,
Mhm.
kind of talking about how it was when you were kids. So it really just connects, I think.
Oh
with
yeah, how
your
Jason
audience.
shared how he had certain figures when I was a kid. I was like, yep. I'd go into Toys R Us and be like, I had this one when I was a kid. My wife's like, you still have it. Like, I'm like, no, this is the updated version. This is gonna be one to keep mock and then the other one to open. It's just a lot of head shaking.
Yeah, man. And you know, the whole point of did I ever have a plan? This was never part of the plan, right? I had an
Very
idea.
organic.
Yeah, I didn't think that I'd have a camera crew, that
Yeah.
I'd be like producing and getting music and doing all this stuff. So I just had to learn all that and do it along the way. And I'm like, there are toy hunt videos, and those are cool to see once in a
Yeah.
while. But I'm like, I want to do it better. Like I want
Yeah.
it to have decent production value,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
camera quality, and there are a lot of influences that influence how the final product looks.
Mhm.
But you know, that's just what I had. I had ideas to do like a sitcom with toy collectors like years ago,
Yeah.
and I already had like the first episodes in my head. It just
Yeah.
never worked out because you know, people's lives, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's just that's just another idea
Yeah.
that didn't get made. So you know,
Yet.
it's- one day
Yeah.
we'll see.
No, and I think that's a huge key to your success is that consistency. You're consistently just like idea after idea. Where I think at Decon, Mario's like, this guy ever stop? And we're like, let's just knock back another couple beers. And we're trying to get this guy to go off his seltzers and have some real beers. And it was just so funny because Kevin was just not, he was like, oh, let's do this. And then we ended up doing a live there on the table. And it was just like, man, that Decon was just like the best thing ever because you felt the energy. And I think we've mentioned this before, is that it's crazy that we've never met each other. But that day, it was like BFFs all meeting up at like, there was no awkwardness, nothing. It was like something that you see in the 80s sitcom where we all jump up in the air and everything freezes. That's all that was missing because it was epic. It was really, I think we were all on the same page. It's synergizing.
We didn't even greet each other. I think the
No.
first thing, like, we just insulted each other on site. Like,
Yeah.
hey, who's this fool? Look at
So
this
natural.
Hollywood and all this
Yeah.
BS. You making fun of Kyle. You guys made fun of
Yeah.
Mike, and it was great. But you know what? There's everything that I've heard from people who watched that live stream. They're like, "Yo, that looks like so much fun. Dang,
Yeah.
I wish I could have
Blast.
been there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just us, just kicking it.
Yeah.
With some drinks and goofing around, right? Cheney, everyone
yeah.
who came through, it was just entertaining.
Yeah. It's so funny because I remember as soon as I pulled up to pick up Mario, he was like, "What the f took you so long?" He's like, "What?" And we're already, and I'm like, "Get your crap in!" Like we're just, it's like we picked up right where
Not
we left off
nice
the
to
day before.
meet you.
Yeah. Oh, hello. There was no handshake. Nothing. Just like, get in the car. Let's go. And then we picked up Mike. It was hilarious. We saw Kevin walking. We're already making fun of him as he was walking towards us.
I think that's one thing that's really awesome about the toy community in general is it feels kind of like a brotherhood in a way.
Yeah.
You know, where you've got collectors looking out for other collectors, and we have a lot of things that we can relate on, and we interact a lot more than we think that we do. You know, even though it's all through social media, you jump in these live streams, you're seeing the same names, seeing a lot of the same jokes being made. You're like, okay, I feel like if I was in person with these people, we would get along instantly. And a lot of the times that's the case.
Yeah.
Like I've been able to meet people at SDCC in the past, people that I looked up to on Instagram or other toy photographers that I've learned from. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh man, this might be a little bit awkward. Like, what am I going to say to this guy? And then I meet him and it's like an instant connection. Like we just understand each other. There's that camaraderie there. And you just feel like you're part of this community and you want to do whatever you can to protect that.
Yeah.
So you have like this mutual respect for each other. And I don't know, I love stuff like that. It's one thing I miss about being in COVID times is that you just don't see that a whole lot anymore. Like I really want to go back to SDCC at some point. I'd love to meet you guys when you go back to DesignerCon if you do that or whatever else that you do. But I think live streams like that where you're seeing all these guys get together, you just want to jump in and be a part of it. You're like, man, I wish I was there. That looks like so much fun because I have something I could say about what they're talking about or, you know, whatever the case is.
The toy thing is normal for us.
Right.
But it's not a common thing for the average person. Therefore, like the collector doesn't always have somebody to bond with over this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you might not maybe like 1 out of 100 coworkers might be into like, oh yeah, I buy Pops or I watch this Disney Plus show, but like maybe not to the same level that we are.
Yeah.
And most likely the people listening and watching to this. So when you find people like this, that's why I think you get that sense of community and brotherhood. And because your everyday life, you might not have somebody to talk about this stuff with. So like Facebook groups that you have, you know, the live streams where you can get together and you see those familiar names. There's a reason, and I think the community aspect of this is one of the craziest unplanned things that I can have a nickname that's been running for 2 years that I had no part of. I wanted no part of it, and it's still going. So hey,
and it's stuck.
And it's stuck. It's on the screen.
Created a whole nation and everything.
And so I mean, but people find it's what people recognize, and they're like, okay, that's the thing with Kevin. So it's just so not everyone has that support, I guess, in their day to day. So this sometimes can mean a lot to other people, depending on the person.
Yeah, and it's become, you know, sort of be like your logo. I know you have a different logo, but when you see like a stick of butter on any kind of post, you're like, is this about Kevin or is he in here somewhere?
Yeah.
Because when I think of butter, I think of Kevin, the Butter Baron.
I like it.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like you said, that was like a community creation for you. It was like, I didn't name myself the Butter Baron, but this community of friends has made it like it started as a joke, ended up being like a trademark now.
And now he wants to army build man cakes.
Give me that man cake.
Yeah, man cakes with the butter bandolier. I think you should do that for like Halloween or something.
Just make sure you do have clothes under and not completely naked.
The more I tried to resist the name, I felt like the more they tried to make it stick.
Oh, he doesn't want this name. We got to use it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are nice like that.
But now you even have the Butter Nation, right? And the Butter Rangers. Right? So you've kind of adopted it yourself. And if you guys want to go and support Kevin, you can be part of the Butter Nation or be part of the Butter Rangers.
Get your butter sticks.
Yeah, subscribing and joining his community. You know, that's another way I think that's really cool with YouTube is that you can support people in different ways, like whether it's a super chat or like, hey, you know, I really like your content. I want to say thanks. So here's me subscribing to you on a monthly basis. You know, and I get it, it's monetary and people are like, oh, I don't have to spend money. But if you really like what somebody's doing, I don't think it's really out of the realm of, you know, it's not like too much to ask, because these people are putting a lot of time and effort to get you the weekly or whatever it is, their content. So I think it's cool that YouTube offers that up for people. And I think at first maybe it had some negative connotations, like, I don't have to pay people to see their content. But just think, YouTube's not paying these guys, you know, unless they get maybe a certain view count. And even that's nothing, really. You can't live off YouTube salary. So if you want to support these guys, you want it to continue, that's a great way to do it. So I like to see that you have so many people part of your Butter Nation now, and you get those super chats. It's just cool to see that people are that supportive of you, that they want to contribute to the channel to make sure it keeps on going.
Yeah, I'm super appreciative of that. And you know, that, like you said, I'm not living it up Scrooge McDuck style on super chats, but the constant evolution of the channel, you know, and the content, the super chats and all that stuff does help, because, you know, it's upgrading to the ZV1s that you're seeing us through, equipment. And if you watch the early unboxing Thursdays versus where I'm at now, it is rough. Like Classy did that montage of for episode 100, and there's a scene where I'm like live and I'm adjusting windows in OBS because it's so bad, man. And like Mario came on and he did the intro one time because my audio was messed up, and he's like, "It's my show now." So all of that goes. Yeah, I enjoy making this stuff. I also want to do it well. And and the support gives the ability to output like better quality. So that's what you're supporting, you know. And I don't want to be like, hey, you know, send money and this and that. It's not something I want to say. It's there. I'll let people know that it's there. And if, you know, it doesn't have to be me, whatever content creator you're watching, just know that that does make a difference.
Yeah. And so since you've introduced the idea of your first unboxing Thursdays, I did go back and I watched that full episode, partly because I was inspired what Plasty had shown us in his little montage.
And how bad my facial hair was?
Yes. The epic stash, you had a goatee going on. Granted, it was in COVID times, right?
Yes.
Like, I think your first unboxing Thursday was May of 2020, if I have this written down correctly. So you're like right in the height of when COVID just started. And even to the point where in that video, you are wiping things off with like Lysol wipes.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, you're like wiping it off before you. I mean, you're being real responsible.
Yeah, look at us now.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's easy to be our own worst critics. Like, yeah, it was probably a little rough, but you have to kind of evolve and learn what works, what doesn't work. I think you're in the same room that you're in now.
Yes.
And it you know, and I don't want to speak for you, but I would imagine that was a way of you to encourage yourself to start maybe going through new figures or looking at figures with a community, or, you know, I don't know, it's just giving yourself an excuse to like, hey, I've got this stuff here that I need to unbox and this is kind of a mess. Let me just do this live with people and have a conversation about it. Is that sort of where that came from? Or is there any other, I mean, any idea that you're like, I want to do this now?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And for the record, the room is still a mess, and there's still a lot of stuff to open. But and you know, Figure Booth has been a huge part of this whole mindset of appreciating your toys more, and, you know, fighting out the FOMO and clearing up space and selling toys to get the money to buy stuff that you enjoy, that you want now, instead of holding on to it. You know, that's constantly evolving. And I think the Figure Booth is a huge part of that, knowing just sometimes you just need to hear it.
Yeah.
To hear somebody else say it, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So there are Mezcos that I was sitting on. They're fantastic, but did I just want it just so I could say that I have it?
Right.
But when you sell it, it's the same thing as, oh, I had that, or I have it now. It's the same effect because I'm not using it. So I'm not doing as much photography as before. So these toys weren't being enjoyed. They were just sitting there. It also helps that they are worth a little bit more. But, you know, you get rid of them, maybe not trying to get full value, just get whatever and get something new. And that also gets new toys for unboxing every week too. And just fine-tuning your collection, getting it to where I want it to be. So thank you too for that, man. It's great to hear that kind of stuff. It's a very unique take It's instead of just like toy news and releases all the time, just actual topics. I really dig that.
Yeah, and thank you. We appreciate that. And it goes back to like bringing something like where's our space, because I feel like enough individuals do a great job of covering the news, but then we can take it to another level on what's the conversations that a lot of us have. What are some of the thoughts and just things that we, I think, internally fight within ourselves? Like, do I need it? Do I not need it? And I'm like, what is that? That's FOMO. Okay, like let's just talk. Let's shed a little bit of light on that topic. And the feedback that you just gave us, and a lot of our listeners continue to give us, that's what helps us like keep that fuel burning, where we're constantly thinking of either new topics. And sometimes it's challenging because the topics can be reoccurring, where it's like FOMO is always there, but there's different types of FOMO. Should I sell it? And then I'm going to have that FOMO again that, like you said, I had it, but now I don't have it. Like that's I don't want to let it go. Like there's all that stuff. It's so funny because a lot of the times I tell myself I gotta take a sliver out of Kevin's book and that consistency again. Like when I first came across your channel, you were doing a live on IG with Just Jay, and me and Jay, we go back.
Right.
Like so it said, and I don't even think I was. I might have been. I honestly don't know if I was following you at that time or not. But it said Jay was live with you, and I was like, "Oh, what's this going on?" And after that, I was like, "Okay, they're just unboxing stuff. You guys are just chit chatting." And I was like, "Cool." Threw it up in the background as I was working on some stuff, and I was like, "Man, maybe I got some stuff I should open up." And then from that point on, it was like I think you were always on my radar, where you were opening up stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Again, it's very entertaining. And it reminded me like, oh, do I have stuff I need to go through? Should I? And I'm like, what's the opening? I'm like, oh, damn, maybe I should buy that. And a little, it could have been before or after. But then we started talking about 3D printing. And then you're like, the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, this fucking guy just enabled me to buy the Anycubic. And then I was like, all right, got it. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then next thing you know, we're all like chatting. And that was like the origin story of the enablers, how we all came about. But it was just, you were consistently on my radar. And I'm like, what's this guy doing? Kevin, all right, and I'm like, oh, now I'm seeing his face everywhere. But I'm like, but it's fun. Like it's stuff and content that I can relate to. And that's why I really applaud you. And I love, one, being part of that journey, but then two, seeing the evolution where I'm like, there's so much. I think I need a TV guide to keep up with all you guys, because between everyone, like there's always something good that we can, as collectors, relate to, whether you're a Star Wars fan, whether you're a Marvel fan, whether you're a DC fan, like Monday through Sunday, there's somebody always on in the community.
Heck yeah, man.
Just taking it a step back, be like, man, they're doing it out of the passion that they love the hobby. That's it. Let me support them any which way I can. I can share it. I can, engage with them. I can support them monetary if I can, all that stuff. But that's what I love. It's like, I almost feel like we need a toy TV guide so that everyone knows, hey, Monday through Sunday, there's always something going on. It's a must-see every day because there's always great content out there.
Dude, like I said, there are very talented people out there, whether you know them or not. And once you come across them, that's, I get to talk to more and more people. And I'm just very fortunate that all my friends, like you guys here, make really cool stuff.
Some great relations that we blossom out. It's awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's what a crazy transition from when I first started, being on Instagram. It was hard to find anyone that was talking about toys just on like a personal level, like, you do on your show, Kevin, or like what me and Prime try to do, just having like real conversations about collecting and toys. And, you could find toy reviewers, like D Amazing was one of the guys that was always inspiring for me. I would go to his reviews, but I would stay for the pictures, because at that point I'm like, man, I want to get into toy photography, and this guy, I want to be like this guy because he's doing work that I want to do. And you find, I love that now you find more and more people that are doing live streams, because I feel like it has more of a personal touch to it.
Absolutely.
But with that comes a lot of competition. And one thing that you've talked about, your key to success is that you're always thinking, your mind's always going.
Like I didn't say that was my key to success. My mind is always thinking. I don't want to say I'm successful.
Okay, well, I'm saying that for Kevin. I feel like one of your keys to success is that you are constantly always thinking, and you're trying to think to add new content in creative ways. Because I think in this kind of community, even though I'm very thankful that we have so much different material out there to consume, you have to be original. You got to stand out in a certain way. Otherwise, people are just going to blow right past you. Like, oh, well, he's just another toy reviewer. Like, what is he offering me that's different? You know, and I think that's one thing you've always been really good about, because you can see it in the evolution of your channel. Even with hunting around, it just started, what, 2 weeks ago now, a week ago. So that's another way for you to add different kind of content. And that's something that me and Prime try to do here, like add something that's different, add something that's original. And thank you very much for what you said, by the way. But for anybody listening, if you are inspired by what Kevin does, or if you want to get into toy photography, don't try to copy someone else. Try to be original, because I feel like that's what's going to draw people to you. Do something that you don't see out there. Don't try to like copy what somebody else is doing, you know, because I don't think Kevin would be where he was if that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to create something that's new and original. Make your own stamp. I think that's what really attracts people. I think a lot of people forget that, though. It's like, oh, I just want to be, you know, like I said, I want to be a D Amazing. So let me go ahead and just copy his photo. You know, let me copy this pose. Let me copy that. And I will post the exact same thing. I'll be just as successful as him. But, you know, people know that what you're doing, like, okay, that's the Amazing photo. Like, why don't you make your own content? And that's what's going to draw people to you. I just feel like sometimes that gets a little lost, or people aren't willing to put in the work to do that. They want that instant success, and it just doesn't come that way. You got to put in the work. You got to grind to get there. And that's something that I think I really respect about your channel, is it's clear you put in the grind and you've really made something of it.
You know what I found myself saying a lot of the times, and this is probably what not drives me, but it's the guiding kind of thing. It's like, I didn't invent unboxings.
Yeah.
Anyone can go and do an unboxing. What makes mine different from anybody else? And it's not like, yo, you're copying me, you're doing unboxings too. You didn't invent that, Kevin.
Yeah.
So what can I do differently? Right? How can I set it apart from other stuff?
Oh yeah.
So that's why there's always ideas going on, and how I can make things more worth somebody's time. Like toys, like your money, like time, it's finite. So if 6 different companies are putting out Ninja Turtles, which I all love, but I only have a finite amount of money, I can only get some of those. So if there's, like you said, all these talented people, the internet is a huge place, YouTube is a huge place, all these people doing content, how do I decide who I spend my time watching and playing the videos?
Oh yeah.
So that's what you have to kind of set aside and keep in your head when you're making stuff, and of course for yourself too, like how to spend your own time.
Right. Yeah. If I tried to consume the amount of content that's out there on a weekly basis, I wouldn't have any time for my personal life. You know, there's just so much out there. So to your point, you do have to kind of pick and choose. Like, okay, this week, maybe I'll watch Unboxing Thursdays. Next week, I'll try to tune into Unparalleled Universe on a Tuesday live or something. I try to switch it up as much as I can, but there's always kind of the ones that I go back to. I'm like, you know, let me just see what Kevin's doing on Unboxing Thursday. He's been on for 2 hours. Let's see where they're at in the conversation right now.
It's hour 6. Let's see. I can't sleep.
I see where this is going.
Shout out to the replay people out there.
The replay crew.
Yeah, the replay crew.
That's a big part of it too, because, you know, everybody's got their own life. So you can't expect people to be around at, you know, when you're going live every single week. But I mean, keeping your content original and creative is what will continue to bring me back. So I just think that's an awesome part of what you do. Before we go, I know we're getting a little bit further into the interview, but there are a couple of things I want to talk about. One is the toy photography. I know that's something that you kind of dabble in a little bit more, and I'm sure with your podcast getting busier and busier, and you're adding more stuff to what you're doing, toying around. You got the Boba Squadron podcast, which if anybody has to listen to it, it's a great podcast. Check that out. You can also get that on Toying Around's YouTube. Now you've got Hunting Around. So I get why probably the toy photography started to take a back seat, but it seems like that is one thing when you were originally collecting, or when you started getting back into collecting, that's one thing that was probably driving a lot of that.
Yep.
Do you feel like that's something you're going to try to do more, or is it like, you know, this is really my passion now?
I do want to do it. I'm still in the mindset when I look at new toys that are being announced, like, oh, I need this prop. It would look great on in this diorama for a toy photo that I'm never going to take, or this figure would look great in this photo. Like I'm still in that mindset. And then we do the enablers photo challenge to try and get people to either get back into photography or step into it. That was partially also for me, so at least I could do one photo a month. And I need to do mine for last month. But it is something that I want to get back into. It used to be a lot more, and then I think when I had the first kid, there was a lot of less time, so it kind of took the back seat, and then it's just kind of slowed from there. But the photographer brain, I think, has never really turned off. So and I love camera stuff. I love all the gear and equipment and the glass, and I'm like, that stuff also keeps it in focus, unintended, I guess. But like the toys are always, photography is always in the periphery, so it is something that I want to spend more time on when I can. Also, like, I'm in the basement. I don't want to be apart from the family, I don't want to be holed down here. They're like on a different floor as much.
That's a big sacrifice too.
Yeah,
it takes a
toll. It is. Yeah, taking time away from your family to do what it is that you also have passions about. But I just noticed it back in your first toy review. You've got diode pieces, and you actually move into like, okay, this is how I could set up a shot. You've got like a diode back there, and you've got a background, and it was that Storm review.
Holy crap!
Maybe it was Storm, or maybe it was your first unboxing. I can't remember which one it was, but it was clear that was a big part of kind of your passion. And I've really enjoyed your toy photography. I know we're our own worst critics, and we're like, I'm not up to this certain level or whatever it is. But I think as long as you're having fun doing it, that's what matters. And I really enjoy how you add toy photography into the enabler stuff, because you've got like, hey, we've got an enablers challenge this month. I've tried to join those as much as I can. But that's just a cool way to kind of make toy photography back into the discussion. Like, hey, we talk about other things here, but we know that there's this huge community of toy photographers, and you yourself used to be one, so let's keep that a part of the discussion. I really appreciate that part of it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and also, like, when you're doing reviews, it's like, are you doing it for the casual collector who maybe wants a Spider-Man, or is it for the person who's doing toy photography who needs you to focus on all the articulation and everything, this and that, or you just want to show the aesthetic of it? So for the same way that there are different toys for different collectors, there's different reviews for different collectors. So if you want to put it to the less than 8 minute video, it's like, what do you put in there, right? Who's this for? You got to remember.
Right. So I guess one of the final questions I'll ask before we move into the Dirty Dozen, and I'm to put you on the spot, because I know you've got a bunch of different toys you collect, but is there one toy line that you'd say is your favorite line? Like, what gets you the
bread
most
and butter?
The bread and butter.
Yeah, exactly. Bread and butter.
Damn. Favorite to collect? I mean,
if you could only choose one to rule them all.
One line that says like, hey, this is all you're getting from now on.
Yeah.
Am I paying for this, or is it like, no?
You are paying for it.
Dang, just look behind me and like all the stuff that you can't see. If I could pick one, it would be Hot Toys, right? Hot Toys. There's more and more Star Wars stuff coming out, which is incredibly detailed. There's always Star Wars shows coming out for the foreseeable future. So if I had to choose one, Hot Toys.
Hot Toys.
He went swung for the fences.
Because you guys are sponsoring it, right? That's what you said.
That's right. Yeah, we're funding it for you. There you
go.
Yeah,
that's fine. Hot Toys. And Ferraris. Just cars.
Yeah, spreading rumors and starting beef. Exactly.
Come on.
How many is Hot Toys something you've gotten more recently into, or you've been collecting that for a while? I know you've got a few behind you, and I saw you got that Spider-Man. I don't know how many in total that you have, but
probably like less than 10. You know how it is when you first start collecting? I'm only going to get the imports. It's $20.
Yeah, right.
What? A $50 Mezco Batman? That's insane.
Yeah.
And then now Mezcos are $90.
Yeah.
So once you've broken that seal, you're more comfortable with making that purchase again at that high price. I started with '89 Batman. That was I'm like, that's my favorite character. That's going to be the only one.
Yeah.
And then someone sold Joker, and then I got that. And then so it's a character that has to really mean a lot to me, but also you can't get anywhere else. Like
Right.
if they don't make 1/12 scale of it, I'll maybe
I've
get
never
out.
seen a 1/89 Batman, especially not from Mezco.
and we never will.
You will never see that.
Yeah,
What is it?
now maybe
2
not
years,
until
4 months?
September.
Yeah, 2 years and 6 months, 2 years and 10 months. I'm gonna start taking bets.
Yeah, man. It's and the rules. I think we talked about. You guys talked about rules in collecting.
Yeah.
I was like, no more Batman, no more Mezco Batman until '89.
Yep.
So they keep pushing it back, and they keep putting out pre-orders and
Yep,
freaking
that's-
loopholes, man, loopholes. They keep getting it.
We were just talking about this earlier today,
Yeah.
and I told Nate I was about to pre-order the Spider-Man and the Green Goblin from Mezco,
Mhm.
and then I saw they pushed. I'm like, nope, you guys are not getting any
No.
more pre-orders from me because no, that's it. We're done. I don't care how hot of a girl
Yeah.
you are. We're done, Mezco. We're done.
Well, I had
you
a,
can't keep
I had
coming
a
back.
similar stance with the Batman versus Two-Face 2-pack at the time that was being solicited. I'm like, no way, man.
It looks so good though. It
I
looks
know.
so
That call.
good.
I know, believe me. At the time, I'm
Ouch.
like, not until I get my '89 Batman, I'm not pre-ordering any more of your freaking figures. I'm tired of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, and I'm like, damn it. Anybody got that for a reasonable price? Can somebody hook me up?
They got this loan from all of us, this interest-free loan
Yeah.
for how many years?
Yeah.
It keeps happening. You got to put a stop to it.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
All
Okay,
right.
so Kevin
Go
said
ahead.
Hot Toys.
Yeah.
Is the number one. I'm sure. I mean, he's a huge Legends collector, all kinds of other stuff. So I know it's hard to limit to one, but I appreciate you entertaining the question at least.
Yeah. I mean, Legends, all those Hasbro stuff, you have so many figures coming out in a year.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If that was your thing, you're like, I want toys. The question is very vague, Nate. Okay, the whole thing is very, very vague. If I
it's
wanted,
meant to be
if I was like,
difficult.
yeah, there you go. So if I was like, okay, if I could only choose one and quantity is my thing, then I would want something like Marvel Legends,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
how many waves come out in a year and how
Yeah.
many figures. If you tally all those up, I would be set for a year or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
So if that was my thing, but if I had to choose one, sometimes not every Marvel character I'm into.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
I think that makes sense, though. It's kind of like that old argument of quality versus quantity, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
yes, I can get a ton of Marvel Legends, and they're great figures.
Yep.
And they're very consistent, but
Yep.
that also takes away some of the excitement from those, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
Because I know there's so much stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
A Mezco, for instance, and nowadays they're
Yeah.
so much more rare that it's like, okay, now I can get really excited about this coming out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know the quality is going to be there. And with the Hot Toys, I haven't taken that dive myself, but you're talking about a whole nother par of quality.
Yep.
And so the wait for those are also a little bit extended. So when you get that in hand, you're like, man, this is like a prize. This thing is sweet. It's
Mhm.
top quality, and it's exactly how I wanted to come out. And it's a perfect representation of this character that I love so much. So I get it. And I think a lot of people would probably pick a more premium toy line if they had to pick one, just because
Yeah.
of what that provides.
Yeah.
So it's not completely surprising that you picked Hot Toys. I think it makes sense for me.
Makes sense.
'Cause,
It makes sense
as I've-
knowing who Kevin is.
yeah, as I've gotten
Gotta burn.
further into collecting, like you
The hell
talked
does that mean?
We'll dive into Dirty Dozen now. Good. All right. Thanks for playing, Kevin.
Well, and just to put it to bed, like when I first started, and you mentioned this earlier, I was collecting literally everything. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to collect McFarlane and Marvel Legends and DC Direct and boom, boom, boom. Just get all this stuff. And then you become more refined. You become like more of a connoisseur in what you like. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to save some money and pick this
Yeah.
really premium hot toy because this is
Mhm.
exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, I can get 10 different Obi-Wans, but do I want the one Obi-Wan that's going to be that placeholder in my collection?
Yeah. Yep.
I,
for sure.
I have multiple Obi-Wan.
Well, I
Yeah.
see two
Good
behind
example.
you.
Yeah, and hopefully more. But hey, no,
Nice.
that's a good point. One of the episodes of Figure Booth got me like, hey, I'm unboxing like 6 to 7 figures a week on unboxing, and sometimes I don't even remember how I felt about them. I wasn't appreciating it. I wasn't
Yeah.
enjoying it. So I'm like, spend the like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the
Right.
point? So I put in this new rule at the beginning of the year, like cut it down to 3 in like 2 hours. I can really kind of go through it,
Yeah.
and actually appreciate, touch, feel everything, look
Yeah.
at it, and let it imprint in my brain. Because
Mhm.
I'll be like, oh, I opened a hot toy last week.
Yeah.
Now it's just on the
Whoopee.
side.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I got through a pile. So yeah, that changing that mindset, I think it's huge, and you two have definitely played a role in that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Anything I can do to get me closer up on the totem pole of the points. I'm always at the bottom, so I'm like, I need to make some type of influence. I'm still trying to figure out how the game works, but that's a whole different discussion. I digress.
You got, Nate's got his tricks, and you've got yours.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna get this started here. Get you ready for a round of Dirty Dozen.
Oh boy.
So there's gonna be I'm going to say either a line or a manufacturer will show up on the screen, and I'll read it out loud to our audience that are just our audio listeners, and just whatever pops into your mind, boom, just let it out the gate.
All right. I'm ready.
All right.
Need some Jeopardy music.
I was gonna start rapping like 8 Mile. I'm just hyping myself up. Might throw up in a garbage can with my hoodie on.
Mom's spaghetti.
Mythic Legions.
Oh man. Trevor,
Nice.
do you want an explanation or just say it?
No, that's
Okay,
explanation. Yeah.
You have I saw you unbox one recently, which I think was Mephitor, the orange and blue skunk looking guy.
Yeah,
there you
that
go.
was a good one.
And I think you've received at least one other from Trevor himself.
He tried to enable me. The little give me a little taste. He sent me a
First
note,
one's
which was
free.
Very nice of him. But so far, no, Trevor. Sorry.
Oh wow. Okay.
I respect that. I tried to hold off for a long time, and they
I
finally
saw.
got me. So
I
now
saw.
I'm like way into it. Yeah.
Oh, I did get a Balius just because I thought the horse would be
nice.
multi
Yes.
brand useful.
It's one of the best horses you can get in that
Mhm.
scale. I think it's definitely worth the investment.
Yep.
Nice. All right, next one. Star Wars Black Series.
Godfather, what? Every time I think I'm
I
out,
think Kevin's
pull
mind
me
just
back
exploded.
in. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Pacino,
Oh,
Godfather
there you
3.
go. There you go. I was wondering. I was like, where's he
Because
going to
it's
go
like,
with that?
I don't know. Kevin's reaction for those just listening, man, it's like he just blew up. He was like, he's
Brain
gonna
just
lose it.
exploded.
Brain, I've got so many things going on. I just pick words
He was
that are just
flooded with
flashing.
ideas. It was like overload.
I mean, look at the new stuff announced. They're
Yeah.
full waves of Inquisitors, like getting a whole set together. Like that's crazy. So yeah, I'm back.
What do you think of the new HasLab?
I'm not. I've made a decision this week. I'm not going to be a lightsaber guy. It's a
okay.
FOMO thing.
Yeah.
It's a FOMO thing for
Yep.
sure.
It's true.
Because
yes, it is.
$250 to $400 for the HasLab's
Mhm.
4 or 5. $250 is like for a saber that's just going to sit here. I'll
Mhm.
go watch, Yoko or Paul grab a nice saber and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. I want
Yeah.
some toys. I'm not
Yeah.
displaying them, so that's not for me. So I'm okay with letting that go.
Yeah, I think that's well said. If you're not into the sabers, that HasLab is probably not very appealing. But for somebody like Fred or Yoko, it might be like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm totally getting it.
Mhm.
So it's definitely more of like, is this your cup of tea or not? If not, that's cool. But the fact that it's a HasLab has me a little worried for them, because there probably are a lot of collectors like, no, I just want the figures. I don't want the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Well, the last HasLab that failed,
Right.
the timing on that really probably would have helped them if the Rancor came out near Book of Boba Fett.
Mhm.
Now this one is a third sister, the Reva lightsaber, while Kenobi's happening now.
Yep.
So they've got that going for them, kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm sure this stuff has been in development for a long time, and it's just a question of when they're going to put it out. So it's probably not like they don't have anything better than this, but they're hoping to capitalize on riding that wave of Kenobi right now. That
Yeah.
you see it on screen, yo, I want that. I want to pre-order
Right.
it. Right?
Right.
Because it's not just willy nilly. I'm gonna make this, and we'll just throw it up on a screen. That stuff is developed for months ahead. I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a method behind the madness for sure.
Marvel Legends.
Marvel Legends is the bread and butter.
Nice.
Bread and butter. Go to.
Jurassic Park.
Oh man. It has to be one word association.
Give me multiple words.
Toro. The Carnotorosaurus. The one that you can put. He's in my living room right now. He's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah.
I love the oversized dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah. Those are great. We got I have a Brontosaurus.
Yep.
That's for some reason my
You
wife
could almost
saw it.
write
And she's
it.
like, "Oh, I have to have that." You know,
Yeah.
now she's got it next to all of her plants.
Nice.
I will
They're
say,
beautiful.
you are responsible for me watching the Netflix show. What is it?
Cretaceous Camp?
Cretaceous Camp. That's it.
Camp Cretaceous.
Oh,
Camp Cretaceous. Yeah. What am I saying? Cretaceous Camp. Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah.
So I like Jurassic Park, but when I saw that, I'm like, that seems more of like a kid's show. Maybe I won't just check it out.
Yeah.
And then I heard you talking about it, and you watched it with your son, and you said, like, personally, I think it's great. Like, I really like it. So I took a chance and tried it out, and ended up watching the whole season. I thought it was great. So
It's
thank you for
so
that,
cool.
Kevin.
No problem.
Yeah,
It's
my
a great
son
show.
freaking loves it. He binge watches it as soon as the season comes out. He's just, and I'm like, he's like, I just finished the second season. Like, third season's gonna come out, or he's always giving me updates, and yeah, he loves that show.
Secret
great
labs and dinosaurs and on the island, that has all the good makings of a good stuff of a good show. Sorry.
A lot of fanfare going on there. Lots of dinosaurs exploring different parts of the park, like different ideas that you're probably like, I wonder what this is about. And they actually do it. You're like, okay, that's cool. All right.
Mezco.
Debt.
Oh, yes. See, I'm like, I'm breaking up with them. I'm done. Get your stuff.
That's a good one too. Like
Break
Mezco, we need to have a talk.
It's you, not me.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's just the lack of communication is what kills me the most. Just not saying anything about delays. And then somebody made a joke about this, but the 89 Batman was supposed to come out, I think June was like the last date of the original release. Actually, this isn't even the original. This is like the delay. And then they say June 1st. Oh, it's been delayed. It's like, you couldn't give us any more heads up, or at least send us an email saying, we know you've been waiting for this for a long time. We are sorry it's delayed.
Yeah,
We're trying
man.
to prepare the best figure possible. You will like it when it comes out. Just bear with us. Just say something like that. Make it sound personal.
Yeah.
What is the only thing we've heard about 89 Batman? It's from Mez's interview with Paige
Exactly.
on IG Live. That wasn't yes, it was on Mezco's Instagram account. But that's the only thing that we heard, was that they're trying to find the best material for the best product.
Yeah.
I respect that. However, they're not bad products. They're fantastic figures, great quality, great character designs for Rebel Society. But man, like, I'm just soured on it. That's it. Just soured on it. That's all.
No, I agree. And we mentioned this briefly in an episode, but I think the NRD is another big one that kind of feels like a punch in the gut, because you're not really giving me a way to get out. Even though you're not adhering to the original release date that you promised me. Like, you put a release date on your site, and I get it, things happen, the pandemic happens. I'm not trying to sound entitled.
Yeah.
But at least give me the option. Like, hey, we know we are more than a year overdue. If you want to cancel this without the NRD penalty, that's fine. We'll let you do that. Just give me the option, so I feel like I have the freedom as a collector, and I feel like you're kind of respecting the fact that I have been waiting for so long. I might not take you up on it, but having that NRD there, nobody wants to miss out on $30. I mean, it sounds like a small amount, but when you're talking about $30 towards a Mezco, and it's a $100 Mezco, I'm already got a quarter of it paid off with that $30. So I don't want to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But it just feels like I'm kind of locked in, and now I have to just suffer and wait.
Yeah.
So I think it rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Painful. All right, next one. G.I. Joe Classified.
Not for me. I have no words associated with this whatsoever.
All right. Get him out of here.
I respect
Pass.
that.
Oh, Hot Toys.
Oh, well, we know this one.
Huh?
This is the toy that when there's a fire, which one are you grabbing out of your
Yeah.
house? It's
Which out of your 10, you said you had under 10. Which one would you take? You can only get one of your hot toys out.
well, I got two
Man.
hands, so we're gonna do 89 Batman,
Oh,
and
okay.
we're gonna do old
Kenobi.
Ben behind me.
See,
Old
he's,
Ben,
he's
yeah.
making his own rules. He's thinking of his own stuff. That's why it's
And then he gets
successful
up and
everywhere.
they're not in the same universe. They're not. You left Joker behind. Later, that would kill me. I'd be like, oh, why did I get Batman and Kenobi? Like,
Yeah.
oh, now I have to hunt a Joker. I should have got Batman and Joker, and then I think either decision you would be, or at least I would be kicking myself in the butt.
So you have the 89 Batman. Do you have the Nicholson Joker as
Yep.
well?
Yeah,
Oh my
see, that's what I'm
gosh.
saying. He would
Wow.
grab Batman, and then he grabs Kenobi, and then later he's like, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
those
be
are your
outside
picks. I
while my
know.
house is burning down, and I can only play Batman.
Yeah, that's
Come on.
it. He's not
Yeah,
gonna. He's
I
gonna
mean,
fight
it's-
Kenobi.
It's still not a loss, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
We're good.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's okay. No, I know. He's
I don't
okay.
play by your rules, bro.
He's not going to
my
conform,
rules.
Prime, no matter how much you force him to. He says, "No, I got two
No, he
hands.
doesn't, yeah.
I'm grabbing two. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I'm just judging him by his two choices. Now he's mixing up two universes. It's not right. Next one, Super 7.
Ooh, Super 7. Nostalgia.
Nice. Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Yep.
It probably wasn't even on my radar until like the last 2 years, but it was the Ultimates Turtles that look like the toys that I played with,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
between that and NECA cartoon and NECA
Mhm.
movie, I'm like Super 7's it.
Yep.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with that.
In our last episode, we are talking about like some of the lines that really surprised us, and I was like, man, Super 7 just knocked me off my chair because I opened up the Thundercats and I was like, man, I'm like 8, 9. I'm an 8-year-old again, playing with my playmates, Thundercats. I'm like, that only gets me more pumped for that Thundercat to arrive. And I went back and I was like, now I got to get more Thundercats just because it created a whole nother level of hype for the line where I'm like, now I don't care what the prices are, what I'm more invested in each of their properties that they're pushing out.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
Super 7's not for everyone.
No,
And also, not everything that Super 7 makes is for me. But
Yeah.
look
Right.
how crazy
the-
that is. The
Yeah.
stuff that I don't care about, I don't have to buy it. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
that's
That-
crazy.
what a concept, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
And I
it's a
think
bit
they
far.
kind of designed the company that way. Like, we're going to offer all these different lines, and a lot of them you may not care about, but that one, like the TMNT line, like Kevin had mentioned, that's the one that got me hooked. And
Yeah.
if there's anything I can say about Super 7 is don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to judge something off a image
Yeah.
that you see, but until
Yeah.
you have it in hand and you see what it looks like, and that nostalgia
Yeah.
hits you, you're like, man, this is exactly what I was looking for.
Then you wish you could go to a Toys R Us and it's like a full circle all over again. I'm like, oh, I don't have a Toys R Us. I'll just play with my Super 7 figs.
Well, I don't think they have Ultimates, but that would be crazy to see if it happens. But right now, I think it's just reaction. But like it's Ultimates, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
If you see it and you're like, oh, it's garbage because it doesn't have the articulation that I need. It's like, nah, not
Yeah.
everyone does photography or has to pose
Yeah.
it a certain
Yeah.
way. Like, it's just not for you.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Mafex.
Mafexu, Mafexu, that's my word. I love them. I don't
like it.
need to pay 130 Canadian for all these characters.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's something to consider, like I think we get a little spoiled maybe, or at least we think that our currency is what everybody uses. It's like, oh, well, yeah, it's only $95, Kevin, pick it up. Like, you're not thinking, I'm in a different country. It's more expensive over here. So that, for me, I would be like, if it was, I'm comfortable paying what I pay from HLJ or whatever it is, but if I had to spend that plus more, I might be a lot more selective about which ones I pick up, just because
Mhm.
that's a lot to ask for, going 35 over retail what it is somewhere else.
Butter is $6 a stick here. I can't be spending dollars on $130 Mafex. All right, $6 a stick of
I
butter.
think you still have some of that haul left from when you did that big heist of butter.
I
So you've got some of
can't
that
use it
sitting in
now.
there.
That stuff's going in the Hall of Fame.
Oh man. All right. Next one, NECA.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Movie turtles are the only things that I get from them. The quarter scale turtles, the first time I ever saw them, it's just a work of art.
Oh man, it's crazy. When I picked up the movie Turtles, I got the set right after they released them through GameStop, and man, it was like again, I was turned into a kid, and I think that's when I started realizing that's what I want from every action figure that I open up, boop, to be turned into like little 8-year-old Prime kid, where I was like playing with all the toys. I want to be turned into a kid every time I open up an action figure. That's the
8-year-old
feeling.
version of you in your brain is called 8-year-old Prime Kid.
Yeah, little like mini Prime, little Prime, not this acid
You're
rain
already-
Prime, not this one, but it's like little
Decon
mini Prime. Not Decon Prime.
That's Twerk Prime.
That's Twerk Prime, yeah. But yeah, younger Prime. And when I got those NECA Turtles, it was like crazy. I was like, man, I remember going to the theaters and seeing this with my older brother.
I think the NECA Turtles are the only toys that made me feel like regular human emotions because
Yeah.
they first came out in quarter scale.
Yeah.
Sergeant Bananas put out, there's probably one of my favorite photos of all time, is quarter scale Leo in a field and there's grass and it's like it's a magic hour, the sun's coming down, and I'm like, it crushed me to know that these are 160 Canadian dollars. I would never have the space or the money. Well, yeah, over time I probably would have like $600 to get all 4 turtles. Like,
Yeah.
I actually felt in my body like, just a type of way, like sadness.
Yeah.
And when they're like, yeah, it's coming in the 7-inch line, I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy to finally get those, and they're just as good.
Yeah.
So that definitely was one of the things that moved me.
Nice.
No, I totally agree. I wanted the turtles. I didn't want them in quarter scale. And then when they announced the 7-inch line, they're some of my favorite figures in my collection. It's one of those lines or those figures that I could never bring myself to sell, just the amount of enjoyment they provided me.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, like, being from a kid having so much love for the 1990 movie, it's really a nostalgic connection more than anything.
Yeah, man. Turtles is one of the deepest brands properties that runs through my brain.
The last one, McFarlane toys.
That's it. That's the reaction.
Perfect. Can't say it better myself.
Bam. Yeah. That goes without saying.
I mean, what can you say? They're really beautiful figures at mass production and that price point. I think this, to be able to have like that kind of sculpting and detail and different parts on so many figures, props. Do they pose the best? Do they play the best? No, and that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But so, I try to keep that in mind. But at a, what is it, US $22 price point?
Yeah. About $20.
Yeah. Mass retail.
Yeah. Sometimes you can get a full box with how many figures was it? 5 figures and the build a figure for $40.
Oh, the box set, those new ones he's doing?
Yeah.
He did this Batman Beyond. We'll see. Well, by the time this airs, everyone will have seen it on Enablers. But yeah, it's the box set of Batman Beyond that Target threw on sale for $40. Originally, it was $80. It was a killer deal.
I agree. I think McFarlane, as we talked about Hot Toys, is quality over quantity. I think McFarlane is quantity over quality. You're getting a lot of figures all the time, but are they the figures that I really want to have? I only buy a McFarlane unless it's like a character I'm very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I know that, okay, I might be a little disappointed when I get this in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I get, I'm getting a ton of variety, a ton of options, so I can pick and choose. And who can beat a $25 vehicle? You just don't get that.
Yeah.
So the fact that he offers those is pretty cool.
And the crazy thing that it's disappointing, it's just like the odd choices of either articulation or it's like just accessories, options. I don't know, because the paint's always killer. It's just the way they're in these already pre-posed pose.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing where I'm like just scratching my head. I'm like, what? Why is he looking side? Why is he giving everybody side eye? Like he's looking to the side the whole time now. Great. Some of the decisions again, head scratching, but yeah.
Yeah, head scratchers. Actually, I'll go with head scratcher for sure.
Nice head scratcher.
Nice one.
All right. Well,
was that 12? That was fun.
That was 12. Yeah.
Heck yeah, that was fun.
Seeing your
Well-
reaction and kind of stumping Kevin a little bit, that made it well worth it for me.
I don't think that happens very often, especially
No.
on his own show.
No,
He makes
'cause
sure
he's-
that doesn't
yeah.
happen.
He's always smooth as butter, and boom, see?
I love not having to run the show, man. So I actually
Yeah.
get to sit and enjoy it, and just kick back. So you guys do all the work.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about how this is gonna look at the end. Do I need to edit this and cut that out?
And we're probably a lot less meticulous about that than maybe you are,
yeah.
which I respect the grind for sure. But yeah, first of all, just huge thanks to you for being on, Kevin. Like I talked about, we're big fans of what you do, and I consider you a friend in the community for sure. So hopefully for anybody listening, I'm sure you do probably listen to Toying Around. If you don't, make sure you go subscribe to Toying Around on YouTube. He's also on Instagram by the same handle. And yeah, check him out, subscribe, listen to the Boba Squadron podcast that he's got going on. A great group of individuals there. You've got the hunting around going on now, so I'm excited for that next episode.
Yeah.
And of course, Toying Around, or Unboxing Thursdays, I should say.
Mhm.
So a lot of content out there. If you haven't checked out Kevin, please go check him out. Please subscribe. You will not be disappointed.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
man. It's very nice of you. Thank you for having me on, and for 50, no less. Perfect.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
We had to go out big, and we've had other enablers on the show, and it's like we gotta have Kevin on, but let's wait to maybe like 50, which is sort of a milestone for us.
It's perfect
I was like,
timing.
these guys are at the bottom of the barrel if they're asking me. It's like, there's so
Reckon I
many
guess.
better people. There's so many
Wow.
better people to ask than me.
This guy.
So
You
modest,
guys.
so
Yeah.
modest.
No,
I think about it
yeah.
a different way, Kevin. After our break, you're the first interview that we've had.
Yeah.
So maybe we
that's-
were waiting to get to you, and we're like,
Yeah.
okay, now that we're from break, let's get
Yep.
Kevin on. We've been
Let's
wanting
bring
this.
him.
That's very nice. And this is a lot of fun. I really like that Dirty Dozen. It's great.
Thanks.
Good.
Thanks, Kev. Any last
Thank you.
words before we send you off?
Any last words before I murder you? No, just you two keep up with the podcast, and I hope you are able to come up with the topics every week, and I know it's people missed you when you were gone, and I miss seeing the podcast and putting it on here and there when I'm working, and it's great that you're back.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Kevin.
it.
We
All
appreciate
right,
you.
Kev. We'll catch you in a little bit. Man, what an awesome conversation. Love it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys loved it as well. Let us know your thoughts. Make sure you guys drop your comments down there. Who should we bring on next? Who should join and take a step into the figure booth?
Yeah, man, it was a great way to kind of get back into it. I know, after taking the break, we were both kind of like, we got to get an interview on the books. And
Yeah.
Kevin's one of the ones we've talked about. And so it felt a little bit more comfortable, I think, to start with Kevin. And then we've got other ones in the books that we're going to be putting on the channel as well. So stay tuned for those. Make sure you guys hit that like button, leave a comment below. What do you think about Kevin's content or his evolution, or what are your own thoughts about starting your own thing? What things kind of scare you? We just want to hear from you guys, like in any other episode. Just leave your comments below and what your thoughts are. Like we talked about multiple times, make sure you go subscribe to Kevin on Toying Around on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. He puts out a lot of great content. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to our channel, The Figure Booth on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on live streams or new episodes. And as always, we appreciate you guys listening and supporting the podcast. So thank you.
Yes, sir. And stay tuned. We will be back with another guest, more topics. The pressure that Kevin just put on us. Well, I'm going to take that to heart. I'm going to write it in my journal today. But yeah, you can always check us out here and make sure you subscribe to us. Let us know your thoughts. Always love to hear back from our listeners.
And where can they catch you, Prime?
You can catch me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all under Prime to the First.
And you can catch me, Nate, aka FigureFan_Nate, on Instagram, TikTok, occasionally on Facebook. And thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Catch you later, guys.